Hi there, everyone. It's Mark Lawrenson here from Sydney Astrology School. And thank you for joining me as we head into episode number 11 in our Neptune Through the Houses series. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about Neptune in the sixth house. Now, this is a very, very interesting one because the sixth house is a very earthy house. It's a house of our practical skills and how we apply them. It's a very service-oriented house. It's very much about work, and it's very, very parameter conscious. Now, this is very, very different to Neptune, isn't it? Because Neptune is the understanding of the oneness of all things and has no boundary whatsoever, so to speak. So when you're seeing this rather ethereal planet in a very practical, very everyday, very hands-on, very work-oriented in a much more concrete, much more dutiful form, you really have to work out exactly what Neptune wants in this particular house. Now, the sixth house, you'll often hear the sixth house being called the house of our daily routine. It's about getting up in the morning and going through what our day requires. It's like a schedule of sorts. And so the sixth house likes to get everything in place. The sixth house loves order. And so there is something about Neptune in this particular house that is after some kind of spiritual practicality or way of being some kind of your spiritual self or your understanding of who you are beyond the earth plane into some everyday practical use. So what I would say to start off with is to be able to bring things into your life on a daily level that remind you of who you truly are. So the most obvious one would be meditation. You know, if you could come into a daily meditation practice, that would be wonderful for people with Neptune in the sixth house. But anything that gets you closer to spirit or just closer to that feeling of inner wellness or inner peace, water is always a good one. Going down by the water or even having a daily routine or even working around water would actually be really good, I feel, for Neptune in the sixth house people, or just maybe bringing something in on the level of maybe some exercise or some health routine that might involve the water. Now, the sixth house is very much about developing and progressing. It's kind of an evolutionary house in its own way. It is always about how can I improve, how can I become better, and so the sixth house kind of needs to find work that has that at the core of who it is. Now, I want to say that people with Neptune in the sixth house have to be very, very conscious of the kind of work that they need to do. It has to be aligned with how they feel internally, what makes their spirit feel good. Now, this can be any kind of work, really. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but it is a very, very giving house, the sixth house. It is about being able to be of some kind of healing or some kind of help. So a lot of sixth house people might find that any healing professions are going to be really good for them. They could get into more traditional kind of healing, but the sixth house Neptune goes down the road of more holistic healing or different kind of methods or more, I want to say more spiritual or more alternate techniques could actually be really good for Neptune in the sixth house to get involved in some kind of way. I think it'd be really good for these people to actually have a routine, a health routine, or a mind, body, spirit routine for themselves first, and then maybe include it in their lives. Now, the mind, body, spirit that I just mentioned is really, really important here, because what's happening is exactly that. Neptune is that feeling of who we are beyond this earthly environment. And the sixth house is very here. It's very much in the tangible, practical, applicable world. And so it's trying to, in its own way, it's trying to bring these two worlds together. So as I said earlier on, the kind of work that you need to do is going to be super important for you. Even if you have a job that most people would call every day, then it would have to in some way feed your soul. So therefore, I'd be saying that if it's doing something for other people, if it's helping other people, if it's healing other people, if it's improving other people's lives in some kind of way, I feel that the Neptune in the sixth house would really, really enjoy that. Uh, Talents and skills are all in our sixth house that we can use. Many people might have a Neptunian talent or gift. It could be creative, it could be artistic, it could be fanciful, and it could be healing, as I've already mentioned. The sixth house also loves to learn and it loves to teach, but in a very, very different way to the third house or the ninth house. This is more about the master apprentice kind of teaching. It's about teaching somebody the techniques or the strategies or the modalities or the way to do things. It's more of the pulling things apart and putting things back together kind of teaching. So maybe if you've got Neptune in the sixth house, you may be interested in teaching something creative or something inspiring, possibly something musical, something artistic, but also going down the road of maybe teaching on a holistic level or a health level as well, being able to teach people how to exercise properly or eat properly. It's got that feeling of being able to come into a place of being able to take somebody through their paces and see them improve through what you can do on that level as well. So putting any of those kind of things into useful, everyday, practical form would be really, really important for a Neptune in the sixth house people. The Neptune in the sixth house people, I mean. Um, so I want to just do a couple of warnings here, because I find the sixth house tends to put a lot into what they do. There's that feeling of having to having to get it right, crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. And Neptune has that boundaryless energy that I've mentioned before. So sometimes overwork can come into this, doing too much, giving too much of yourself. It's a very giving area. So sometimes you might overgive to the expense of your own well-being. You might get tired, you might get exhausted. If you're finding yourself coming home every day feeling depleted, maybe you're working too much in a earthy kind of way rather than a soulful kind of way. If you know what I mean, it feels like the human self has exhausted itself out and you're not really looking at your spiritual well-being or just your well-being on the level of looking after yourself is concerned. That would be a really important thing to look at. As I said, overgiving to the expense of you missing out, putting yourself last. Going into servitude is one of those things that you would have to be very, very careful of as well. Uh, I like the idea of getting your life into spiritual order. I like the idea of actually finding ways of being able to bring the parameters into your life in a way that I want to say suit your soul. It's something about writing lists of things you do want and things you don't want, things that make you light up, and things that bring you down, and be very, very careful of um, of the dividing line between these two, and to be able to put more emphasis on all the things that light you up, and try to, in your own way, eliminate the stuff, that bring you down, because there is something about the sixth house energy that likes compartmentalizing things, likes putting things in drawers and boxes, and so being able to get your life into some kind of spiritual working order that way would be really, really good. Now, the high side of this, the real side of this that is going to be working well out there in the world, the stuff that you need to do work wise, and the stuff that also enhances your life spiritually at the same time, um, would have to be something that you're always consciously aware of with Neptune in the sixth house. You do have the ability to be an earth angel. You basically have a kind of quality, a giving, very, I want to say, healing, helpful, uh, putting your hands out and being able to help somebody, with very, very, almost like the practical things in life. It's a little bit like, do you need any help with that? It might just be changing a light bulb for the old lady next door, or, just possibly, helping somebody across the road that needs it. Those kind of things. They're very small and they're very simple, and you might think they're not really gonna trigger anything, on the universal scale, but they're huge. They're huge as far as the universe is concerned. And they're also huge as far as Neptune in the sixth house is concerned. So any tiny act of kindness that you can bring in on an everyday level would be very much part of your Neptune in the sixth house. So what I want to say is you have the ability to be an earth angel, but make sure that the angel is looking after itself first before it goes out and helps the world.